You are listening to the USDN on the DFPN.
It's a trap!
All right. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. And today I am joined with my special guest, Mike Scrase. I'm saying that correct?
Yes, you are.
Scrase? Perfect.
Some people like that's really funny when this is the thing that always comes up first of all.
I meant to
I should
ask
probably
you
just
when we were talking behind the camera, but now we're live, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to wing it because I forgot to ask, and I nailed it, so I'll take that W in the morning. So, everybody, Mike is the writer of a phenomenal comic book called Zip. It is, Mike is based in the UK, and this comic is all about flawed superhumans, and it kind of has the undertones of, in a commentary of disability. And it's a brilliantly written the way Mike has, he doesn't present these disabilities as that. He has wrapped them in superhumans, and it is phenomenally written. The art by San is absolutely phenomenal. I love San's artwork. That the black and white and the black and gray is not something you see these days, but San has absolutely nailed the art on this, and it is amazing to see, a beautiful full color cover and a black and white book. Absolutely brilliant. So, Mike, give us your origin story and how did comics grab you and what led you into writing Zip?
Well, the thing that inspired Zip was actually a Cracked.com article called 7 Awesome Superpowers Ruined by Science. And it basically, I mean, if you read that, it talks about, super speed. Our main character has super speed. Mm-hmm. But it's just going through a bunch of different superpowers and explaining, like, for example, okay, well, if you had super speed, you would also need to have extremely fast reflexes, or essentially extremely fast mental chronometry, which means that that's the speed at which you experience time. So if you were going to be, endowed with super speed, you'd need the world around you would need to be like, you need to be perceiving it super slow, so everyone would talk like this. Mm-hmm. And conversely, you have to slow yourself down to be understood by anyone, because otherwise you just sound like a chattering chipmunk. And you couldn't just turn that off, because that's not the way that reflexes and your mental state works. So that's just one of the examples. And I read this article, and I kind of thought, that it's funny and it's entertaining, but also, they're writing it as if this is just like a cherry pick about superhero fiction, but it's actually a good idea for a story in its own right. And I kind of immediately, having been born visually impaired myself, I immediately sort of saw it as a analogy for disability, which is why I ended up wanting to tell the story I did.
No, I really enjoyed it. And what you were talking about with the really slow talking, you see that in the first issue when she's doing the speed dating.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
And I thought
we
that
had
was
to
really
show
cool.
off some.
Yeah.
We had to kind of show off how that affects Zip in social situations, and you know, and just how her daily life. I mean, you can see, she's falling asleep on the job because her life goes twice as fast as everyone else, so she needs to sleep twice as often, but for half as long. So for her, an 8-hour shift feels like being awake for 16 hours. So she would often kind of like nod off, or and pretty much every job now is customer facing, unfortunately, or every job that's easy to get or accessible to get is customer facing. So you're going to have to be talking to people, and imagine having to talk to customers in customer service or retail all day when they sound like they're talking
Yeah.
a word a minute or something.
Yep. Yep. So, can you? So, what inspired the concept of imperfect superhumans? And did you set out to make the disability a central part of the story, or was that just kind of something that you wanted to bring into the picture of it when you were writing it?
No, the disabilities were essential from the start. I mean, Zip is the main character, and the story kind of follows things from her perspective, but there's an entire community of superhumans in this world. Basically, the ethos that I made the comic behind was that, like, the way that you can explain it is basically, if you're a superhero or just any superpowered person in this world, you're going to have some kind of disability-esque thing that comes with your superpowers, because the balance of a human body is very delicate. We developed over a very long series of small changes in the evolution, and you change a little thing about that and the balance gets tipped, and the chances of it being totally beneficial are very, very slim. So, for example, I mentioned I was visually impaired, but I actually was born without any irises at all. Do you know what irises are?
That's the central part of the eye, right?
No, it's
Or
the opposite. It's the outer
colored part.
part. So the colored part, yeah. And what the iris does is it contracts and expands to allow light to get in, like an aperture on a camera.
Okay.
So in the dark, your eyes become smaller and your pupil dilates to allow more light to get in, to make it easier to see in the dark.
Yeah.
And when it's bright, it will contract and let less light in. But I have no irises at all, so I don't even have the part that you always have when it gets small. So my eyes are letting in more light than anyone you've ever met in your entire life, and probably anyone your audience has ever met in their entire life.
No,
I'm not joking. It's rare enough that that's probably true. So I've got very, very good low light vision, like literally better low light vision than anyone you've ever met. But also it does mean that I never leave the house without sunglasses. And also the absence of an iris makes my eye a different shape. So the lenses in my eyes aren't like aligned with the curvature of my eyeball, correct? I believe that's how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just regurgitating what doctors told me. I don't know like the deep, medicine type, medical type things about it. I just know what I've been told. But so it creates like very much short-sightedness. And there's other things with it because it's a genetic mutation as well. So I've got first-hand experience of how, genetic mutation can be beneficial, but you're very rarely going to have, experience that without some kind of consequence. I think I've completely forgotten what the original point I was going to make was, but that's essentially
No. I think you because the question was what inspired the concept of imperfect superhumans in your story with Zip.
Yeah.
And how did disability kind of become that central part of the story?
Yeah, well, I think the other thing I was going to say is what I wanted to say with the comic is that we have a sort of like society has a certain way of thinking about disabled people, where we're either like props to inspire people or we're totally helpless or something like that. And I kind of wanted to take a look at a genre that's, typically sees a type of human being that is, quote unquote, above a regular human, a superhuman, and, show that even if they are super, the mere fact that they're abnormal, and so that it's harder for them to fit into society, means that they will struggle. And so the point is that it's not necessarily even that disabled people are, like helpless. It's just that because we don't fit into that mold, that's the difficulty. And if we could just accept a greater diversity of experiences for all people, then disabled people wouldn't have, such a big issue.
Okay. So you remember when you first emailed me that you were like, hey, you noticed it because I had interviewed Bruno Caterino with Bereavement, and how we both backed that project.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So Bruno like legit just replied on Blue Sky. It was like, oh, I have Zip. A couple of issues that he picked up a few months ago when y'all were both at a con together.
Oh yeah, wow.
And that y'all had a lovely chat together. So that's really dope.
I didn't know that he was local. I just backed Bereavement on Kickstarter. I had no idea he was. Maybe I did and I forgot, but that must have been Bristol Con at
it might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
He was telling me that he was there.
Yeah, that's cool. Well,
that's really dope. It was just one of those weird things that popped up. He was like, "Oh, I have this." I was like, "Oh, well, that's a full circle for me because you literally emailed me because of Bereavement with Bruno."
Yeah.
And now here we are having a conversation, and Bruno hops in and says, "Hey, I just got to meet him. Great dude. We had a great chat, and I picked up a couple of issues." So I know
that's really nice to hear.
He's got a new Kickstarter starting up soon here too, so hopefully he'll hit me up.
Oh man, I'd have to check that out then. Yeah.
Hopefully he'll hit me up and I can have him back on for the third time.
Yeah.
He's always a delight to have on.
Oh, I mean, if he's now, I'm starting to think maybe I don't even know because I don't even know if technically Kickstarter allows this, but if he's local, maybe we can do like a comic swap and do like a bundle thing on our campaigns or something. I'm gonna have to. This is not talk for this. I'm gonna have to like
down the road from you.
possibly. I'm not gonna say where down the road from me would be, but
I don't want y'all to burn yourselves here. But so, did you base any of the characters or moments in your book on real people?
Yeah, tons.
Or events?
Well, I mean, like
people will do that. They were like, oh, because I had just had Nick on who does Vitellarium. Yeah, I know he bases a lot of characters and like their appearances and their personalities on characters that he knows, like people that he knows. So people in his book, in his comic book, some of them are based on real people that he knows in his life. So did you do that as well?
I think that I would have to say that basically every character I've ever written is at least somewhat based on a real person that I've met in real life. I mean, it's not like you're going to go and open the book and go, oh, that's literally just someone that you've copy and pasted from your real life. That's not going to happen. I mean, it's not, obviously I couldn't say that anyway because I'd be open to defamation if I did. But I mean, I haven't. But there are definitely people that I based characters. I mean, it's just like you kind of have to. The only other option is to base things on characters from other fiction, which is fine. But it kind of becomes like a snake eating its own tail type of thing with that.
Yeah, you don't want to get hit for plagiarism either.
Well, yeah, but
people
also
are able to point that out.
I mean, you can get away with that if you can take from enough sources and composite, but also, I mean, there are a lot of tropes that in fiction that have developed just because they've gotten away, like artists being inspired by other artists, and then we've invented things that everybody agrees, oh yeah, that happens, doesn't it? But it doesn't happen. It's just like, for example, orphanages, as I understand it, orphanages as we see them in movies barely exist in real life, but so many people have been inspired by other people with stories where they exist that it's just like we've just invented a fake thing. I mean, I don't know anything about it myself, but like I've heard that that's the case. But for me,
the only place where I've seen an actual orphanage similar to what we see in movies was in Asia.
Right.
And that's been the only place where I've seen like an actual full building
Right.
that was an orphanage.
Well, like I say, I don't really know much about it, to be honest, but I just heard that that's the case. But I mean, for example, like the main character, Zip, she is very insecure. And my partner is very insecure, and I've got a lot of insecurities too. So when she's responding to something or reacting to something in an insecure way, and I need to think of what dialogue to write or what words to use to express like the idiosyncrasies of her own, lexicon of speech, I will say to myself, how would my partner word this? How would my partner react to that? And then there's more specific examples. So, for example, in the second issue, Zip comes across or clashes with a martial artist called Mr. Untouchable, who is someone who's had brittle bone disease. And in order to get revenge on a bunch of the people who, tormented him in his youth, he's trained in martial arts so well. He's gotten so good at it that if he sees an attack coming, he can dodge or just counter every single one. And the comic kind of deals with his origin in his youth. There's a bit where he's taken into, because he's dealing with bullies in his school. And he's taken into his, head teacher's office. And the head teacher, there's a moment where he says, "Look at me when you're talking to me." And I don't even know if I necessarily made it explicit enough. But the thing is, the reason that I had him say that specific thing was because when you're disabled and you're with somebody and you're asking for like accessibility in like a place or something like that, you'll be surprised how often the second that you tell somebody you're disabled, they find out, they'll start talking to your partner or your friend or whoever you're with instead of you, and asking them what you need, or asking, or telling them important information instead of you, as if they're like your carer and you can't understand what the information or understand the question. So the reason I had him say that is because I'm like, well, in this scene, that his head teacher is talking to his mother rather than him, even though he's the one being discussed. He's right there in the room, and they're just, he's
avoiding him. Yeah,
well, not even just avoiding. He's just acting like his mother is the only one who can understand what is being talked about. I mean, like, there's so many examples. I don't know if you could necessarily sit here and list them all because it would take forever. But like, yeah, I mean, writing organic dialogue, all the time I have to think, who have I met in real life that can be applied to, think about when I decide how this person would react and what words they would use to express that thing all the time.
Okay, so you're getting ready to drop issue 4. Do you have a date yet when you're going to be launching that on Kickstarter?
No, I think everybody's pretty much in agreement in that Kickstarter has been rough for a while. So what I am doing at the moment is building up pre-launch followers to get a gauge of how many backers I can actually expect. So at the moment, I don't have a set date.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping around about August, September, but I'm looking at that follower account and using that to figure out when we are actually going to go live.
Because I mean, you sent me the I'm guessing it's the draft or the almost finished copy of 4.
Yeah, that was a draft. There's a few things we need to tighten up.
And so, no spoilers? How did you set the stage from issues 1 through 3 going into 4? Because I know in the first 3, Zip is she's got a lot of self-doubt, but I noticed in 4 she's really kind of starting to come along with that. She's starting to find a little bit more confidence and that kind of stuff. So what,
Yeah.
like, how did you set that stage in the first 3 to get to where you're at right now with 4?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that's the journey that a character goes on, you know, the character arc. So in the first one, I mean, I really wanted to make the first one as typically a day in Zip's life as possible. I mean, the story is called A Day in the Life. So I was like, you know, she's not gonna go up against any like supervillains. She's not gonna clash against anything big or, you know, spectacular. I mean, there's still going to be big and spectacular things that happen in the story, but it's going to be, you know, more down to earth for this one, just to kind of establish a baseline. But we're also going to meet Pinstripe and Dog's Body, 2 of my favorite characters. Who
they were. They're your basic goons to the way I seen them. They're
a little bit.
Goon squad, basically.
Yeah, a little bit.
I love their dynamic and their interactions with each other. It's very like 2 bros just hanging out and working. And the way they barb back and forth.
When you say, I mean, like when you think of a pair of goons, you think of like 2 people who are explicitly criminal and are explicitly, you know, evil.
Yeah.
They aren't really. They are working for. They're working for a big corporation that is definitely not. Are definitely not the good guys. I wouldn't call them the good guys, but I also wouldn't call them bad guys because they're just 2 people who are caught up in something much bigger than themselves. Pinstripe, particularly, I wouldn't call a good guy because Pinstripe is, you know, he's maybe been raised a certain way, and he could probably do with some growing. And there are certainly people, you know, especially, you know, women, you know, who may not have the best experience with Pinstripe, but I mean, he's not a cackling, mustache twirling.
No, he's
villain
really
from a silent movie. He's someone that you could feasibly meet, and that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that person that you could meet is, you know, just absolved of everything. But he's not, you know, he's not like a force of evil. He's just kind of a guy who's like I say, caught up in something bigger than himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we were talking about. So the second issue, we move on and we learn more about Zip's childhood, and we introduce Mr. Untouchable, as I said before, and their pasts kind of intertwine, and we see like the parallels between them. And then the third issue, Pinstripe and Dog's Body come back because we see a little bit more about the corporation that they're working for.
Yep.
And that corporation is developing a collective of basically an artificial intelligence called the Hive, which manifests itself through nanobots that break down consumer products, atomize those consumer products, and then analyze what they've atomized to scrub it for training data, and then basically take all of the training data that they've ever accumulated and rebuild hybrid products, like new quote-unquote products, for sale on the market. However, the Hive is programmed to seek out the most complex objects it can find, and it quickly determines that the most complex objects it can find are human beings. So this corporation goes, oh, it's too dangerous. We're going to have to, you know, keep this confined for a bit, try and sell it to investors anyway, so that we can, you know, get some money to work on this problem. However, Pinstripe, now looking for Zip and trying to track her down so that he can, you know, get himself in good with his superiors and find himself a promotion, accidentally hacks into a server that the Hive is contained into and unleashes it. So Zip and the Hive clash. And so issue 4 begins with kind of like the aftermath of Zip's battle with the Hive.
That was a really good issue. I really like that issue. The concept
3?
of the Hive, yeah. The concept of the Hive was really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would really enjoy them too. Yeah. I mean, we can talk about the Hive more in a bit if you want, but
yeah, we can do that in a bit.
if issue 4, basically in the aftermath of all that stuff, Zip connects with the wider superhuman community that she's been kind of separated from a long time. Pinstripe and Dog's Body are back again because they are important, and they are this time mucking about with the fabric of the universe. Their new experiment that they've been assigned to do is one that is the aim of it is to unlock one of the elusive technologies out of all history, and that is time travel.
I really like that concept that you have going in issue 4, especially because this guy was just trying to, for lack of a better term, and I don't want to give too much away, he was not having a good day when he was on top of that bridge.
Yeah, no.
And then the way it almost felt like a little bit of a time jump a little bit. But I definitely had to go back a couple of pages, and I was like, oh, it did work. That's where we're at right now. Because my brain wasn't braining this morning, and I don't think I had enough coffee at that point.
Yeah,
so
I
went back and I reread it again, and I was just like, I see where it did work.
I think time travel can be a bit that way, especially, with some people, I think I'm such a big fan of time travel fiction. I've seen enough of time travel stories where I can just go, yes, right away. But for some people, time travel can be it is a difficult thing to wrap your head around, really.
It really is, and I'm
not really obeying the rules that other fiction really obeys with time travel.
And the great thing about that is you don't have to.
Yeah, well, I've had so many people. I've had people read time travel stories, and I've read in the past, and say, "Oh, but that's not how time travel works." And I've always responded, "Well, please present your working time machine, so that you can show me
exactly. I thought Bruno. We were talking about Bruno earlier in that previous anthology that he did. He's got a time travel story in there that is really good. He it's more of a about a hard-headed dude who wanted to do something his own way,
right?
But he always makes kind of like the same mistake when he does it.
Yeah,
and there's always like another person going behind him and correcting it and reminding him, like, hey dude, you have to do this to make this work. Well, he thought he would be smart and try to jump into the future, learn something, and then jump back because it would be instantaneous. And he again didn't listen to the person and did it wrong. So when he made the jump, he didn't include the one number that he needed to include. So when he jumped, he messed himself up. It's a really, really good story. But all the time travel is like everybody's got a little different twist to it, but nobody's wrong. And it's like it can be done really, really good or really, really just bad. And you nailed it, I thought, with that.
Oh, thank you.
It's a great concept the way you did it. And the story that you brought with it was really cool too, I thought.
Yeah, thank you.
Because the guy is just he wants to help himself, Yeah. So he took that chance that he had just been given to fix it. So it was good heart and good intentions, even though he was having a very bad day that day.
If you're talking about basing characters on real people, the guy in that comic was based on a real person. I read a news story about an ex-con who had murdered somebody, and they after getting out of prison for a life sentence, that they were basically, it was almost kind of like an opinion piece, but it was more like sort of a personal experience type article where they were talking to a journalist and expressing their views, and they were talking about your friends are going to forget about you pretty quickly when you're in prison, so it's really not worth it to just act like a tough guy.
Yeah. So, what is something that readers often miss on the first read through that you wish they would catch in your books?
I think that I think everybody who's expressed opinions about it like out loud has been pretty good. I mean, like we've had Amazon reviews that have pointed out things about the book that I didn't intend, and I've gone, oh, that's a really good point. I'm gonna just write that down in my notebook for later.
Hey, that's what's great about it, right?
Yeah,
you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I mean, I think the thing that was really, because I was doing Zip as a webcomic before it was in the form it currently is. So the idea has been around for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And before I was estranged from my mother, she read the story, and she kind of said to me, "Well, Mike, don't forget there are real heroes who existed in real life, who is like your grandfather who fought in World War II." Mm-hmm. And I just completely couldn't believe that she said that, because it's like, who do you think that who do you think Eternity takes inspiration from?
Oh, that's really dope.
Like she was like, she literally brought up the person who inspired one of the main characters in the book, and then didn't even notice that they were in the book. It was, so I think probably that.
Yeah, and you do mention that the work he did in World War II in the book itself. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like,
but that's really cool now that I know
yeah.
that you based him off your grandpa and he fought in World War II, and you even base the character. You say that his character did great work in World War II. So that's really cool that you gave those flowers to him that way.
Well, you will see more about what happened and why that's important. It's not just something we're dropping in there as like a random fact. That's interesting. So then that's going to become very important.
Okay.
Later on, there are a lot of little details that you will see in our issues so far that will become very important later on. I didn't want to make them too in your face because it would just distract from the story that we're telling right now. But there are a lot of seeds and a lot of little teeny mysteries that I'm sprinkling in there. That
you're going with the George Lucas effect.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a kind of like, I mean, there's that J.J. Abrams mystery box thing, but the trouble with the mystery box is oftentimes they don't have a plan for what exactly it's going to be. I mean, I'm not talking about things I'm sprinkling in there that I don't know what's going to happen at all. Sometimes there might be things that I readjust and rework, but I do have a plan. It's not that plan is completely inflexible, but I have a plan. So when something gets mentioned and it doesn't really appear to do, further the story or have anything to do with the issue at all, I hope that doesn't happen too often. But when it does happen, you might, just have in the back of your mind that that's not necessarily irrelevant. That's probably definitely coming back.
Okay. Yeah. No, you can. I like it because you can. Like when she met, I think it was issue 3 with the nanobots. When she met, I think his name was Flame.
His name was Sunflare. It's very difficult to come up with a superhero name that hasn't been
used. Yeah. But where was I going with that?
She met him, and we were talking about sprinkling in details.
Yes, because he was the one that was talking like about her grandfather, I believe it was, and the stuff that he did during World War II. And so I thought that was like, and then he gets absorbed. I don't want to talk about it too much, but because I do want people to go and read these books because they were really good.
Thank you.
But I thought that was it was one of those moments like, these guys live a lot longer than us normal humans are.
Well,
I'm not sure what year is your comic actually in?
It's supposed to be like if Zip is a young adult now than it's in the modern day. So
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to be like putting in a bunch of exact up to the date references, because then they're like 5 years old. But yeah, it is supposed to just be current day. But eternity explicitly is immortal, so that's why. The superhumans in general do not live any longer than most people, and some live shorter lives. I mean, Zip's heart beats over 1,000 times per minute. So her life expectancy is around 50, 40. She's actually going to live a much shorter life than the average woman because of her tachycardia. Yeah. So, for some of them, they'll live a length of time that is pretty average. For some of them, they'll actually live shorter lives because their powers just wear their bodies out faster or what have you.
Okay. No, I like that.
Yeah.
That's and I'm really. So let me ask this: like, how far have you planned out Zip to go? Like, do you have that idea about like, I want to get 12 issues out of this, or I just want to run it until I can run it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question. I almost feel like I'm going to jinx myself by answering that, but
don't answer it. Don't answer it.
No, I will answer. I will answer. So I mean, I want people to know what the future plans anywhere are, because like people want to know that, as part of like if they're considering buying the book, then that's kind of something they want to know, which is fair. And I personally, I mean, like, I envision it as an ongoing series, but like, there's a difference between what I envision and what our publisher envisions. So, I mean, I am planning to do a trade paperback that consists of 6 issues. I've got the next issue written, but I'm just taking it one issue at a time because, I've got to be able to fund each one. So I'm envisioning, sort of kind of an arc for 6 issues, but it's kind of like we'll build to a larger story. I think to do at least 3 trades, but if I can do more than that, then I probably would. I mean, I like to think of it as like an indefinite thing. It might be something that I would do and then take a break from and then return to as well, because as an independent comics writer, it takes longer than one of the big two can just kind of put a bunch of artists on one book and just throw a bunch of money at it so that it gets done monthly. But
I don't know if you've noticed lately, Marvel and DC both have been canceling books left and right because they're throwing a lot of money at stuff, and then the stories just ain't been the way they want it to. There's been a lot of stuff canceled over the last few months.
I don't really get a lot of mainstream books, not because I'm like snobby and like, but just because like I like a lot of like mainstream stuff, but some of these characters and stories have been being told for, I mean, like Spider-Man's like, what is it, 70-ish years old now, and
I think so,
and then like all the other, even older than that, like Spider-Man's one of the younger superheroes as far as superheroes go, and it's just like, no matter how good your stories are, if you're doing like just one a month running for that long is going to be difficult to. But like Spider-Man, I don't know if he still is, but at one point there was like 3 Spider-Man comics per month, and it's just like, I love Spider-Man.
There's more than that. There's more.
Well, yeah, I think but like mainline ones there, right?
No, there's more.
Oh wow, jeez.
They just canceled 2 of them. They canceled, I think, Spider-Boy and Spider-Girl. Canceled after like.
Well, I was talking just Amazing Spider-Man, just Amazing Spider-Man, nothing besides that.
I think it's a issue a month, maybe 2. It might be bi-monthly, but I'm not sure.
I remember a time when there were 3 Amazing Spider-Mans per month, but like, and when you're going for 70 years, you're just going to run out of stories to tell. I know it seems like kind of just a commercially.
Well, that's why so many now are kind of being circled back to, and it's the same basic story, but it's fresh art and a fresh concept, but it's still basically the same story. And I, like you, I'm a very much a independent guy. I love the indie comics. I love Image and Boom Studios and Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Mad Cave, Zenscope. Those will always be my go-tos when it comes to comic books, because especially Image, because they are very much creator based.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get their breakouts in Image, and they go on to do maybe a DC book or a Marvel book, but they started it with their own comic book that Image, did.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always have a lot of respect for Image and what that team over there has done. Like, I know you can't really see the stack over here, but that was my new comic book day for this week. And 98% of that is all indie. Maybe 95%
Yeah.
of it is all indie books.
It's getting that way with just being Kickstarter books now.
Yeah, so it's I don't say no to a lot of interviews, because I like to bring on people who are doing their own thing and doing something different than the mainstream. And so far, I'm on a good streak, and my streak continues with you as far as Kickstarters go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always happy to have guys on who are doing their own thing, marching to the beat of their own drum, so to speak. And even now, like Mark Spears completely funded his monsters through Kickstarter before Keenspot picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool that, like, I mean, we're talking Mark Spears. Like he started funding his own comic book through Kickstarter before it got a publisher.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not just for the small guys, but the big guys will also use it when people aren't. And I can appreciate that they will go back to their roots and be like, well, I want to fund my book, so I'm going to Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear about Zip, for anyone who wasn't sure, we do have a publisher, but we're still funding books.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about that.
Mm-hmm.
You are one of the few Kickstarters that I've seen that actually has a publisher with Markosia. Is that how you say it?
Markosia, yeah.
How does that work for you in that with having a publisher in Kickstarter? Because normally a publisher just fronts the money and then the sell, and they make their money back on that. I
mean, that'd be nice, but I mean, I suppose it's just that, there's so many books out there these days that it's very competitive, and I mean, funding getting the art made, getting the art done costs money, because you've got, you said it yourself that San is a great artist, so it's not, that's not kind of thing isn't free. So we fund our books so that we can basically get them made, and then they'll go off to Markosia. Once we get, I mean, Markosia only does digital comics, so only digital single issues at least. They do trades, but they don't do single issues in print.
Okay.
So when you're talking about if you want to get a single issue in print, the only way to do that is through our Kickstarter at the moment, or if you're local enough to come to a convention. But those aren't going to be on all the time, and you might not be local enough to do that. So if you'd like print versions of our comics, back that Kickstarter, and even in the case of the digital editions, Markosia picks one cover that they want for their e-reader version. Yeah. So if we have alt covers for every issue. So when you back a Kickstarter and you get a digital version of Zip, you will be able to select a exclusive cover that Markosia hasn't used. And some of these covers, if you've only come to us from Amazon or Drive-Thru Comics, you may never have seen some of these covers before. Mm-hmm. Other than that, the content of the comic, the actual story and stuff, you're not going to be missing out on story if you're reading via e-readers. But it
was issue 2 that had the I think it was a Francesco Sabatini cover.
So issue 3 is our Francesco Tomaselli cover.
Tomaselli, yeah.
Let me just quickly This is the one.
I just recently learned who he is because he's done some covers for I think the Keen Spot, I believe, on one of their books.
Right.
Or it might be, I can't remember off the top of my head. But when I seen the name, I was like, oh, nice. I'm like, that's dope that he got a cover from him.
Yeah, that was pretty great. I mean, that's one of our best covers, I think. It's hard to pick, really. But the other thing you get if you back our Kickstarter as well is you get your name in the book.
So I noticed that when I was reading through again this morning, because normally when I do my first initial read-throughs, I just read the story. I don't read the beginnings or the bottom parts of it. But today I was like, I was up early, so I just went like, I always try to do this. I'll reread everything the morning of, so everything is fresh in my head. And as I was reading through to the end, I was like, oh, this is really cool because he does put that in the book, like a big thank you to this, these people for backing us. So I thought that was really dope that you did that. You don't see a lot of people doing that.
Well, it's just like, I mean, it's a cost-effective thing that you can offer people that's unique and personalized. And I think that's a good draw because you can just, you can offer that essentially no cost. But people will have like a personalized memento of the time that because the other reason that you would want to back our Kickstarter is just to be on the ground floor of getting an independent comic made and being part of that. Yeah. So
I always feel really cool and really good when I have somebody on for a new Kickstarter. And when I see it pop up that it's been funded, I'm always like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, especially something explodes and you're like, oh, I backed that when it was,
Yeah, exactly. And I just love having that. Like, it feels good to me that, hey, I was one of the first ones to bring this person on.
Yeah.
And discuss, their Kickstarter and their passion of their project. And to see it get funded for me is like, it's not even my work, it's your work. But I have like that pride too, that like maybe, just maybe, somebody's seen my interview with him and decided to back that book. So I have that sense of like I did my little piece to get this done because it was such a cool book,
Well, if you want, I'll generate your own referral link. So you can actually metrically figure out if that's happened.
No, I don't want to do that. I just like the thought.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I got a big announcement I got to make here soon, and once I make that announcement, probably tomorrow, my world's going to be like busier, and I still got 9 to 5 to think about too. So it's definitely like I have a hard time of like I get off work, I come home, and I basically start this and preparing for what's next. And it's just like sometimes I feel like I'm working 2 jobs, but I don't want it to ever feel that way. So I basically like kind of I don't want to say I took a month off because I was still doing stuff, but I definitely got myself behind a power curve. So now I'm got to play catch up this weekend too. But that's all good. I enjoy that part of it because what I'm getting ready to do is going to be fun for everybody, I hope. Yeah. So let's touch on. So I noticed, I think it was book 3 is when I noticed it. I think it was book 3 or 2 that you have somebody actually reading your book who is basically sensitivity check-in.
Oh, that's the 4th one. We started that in the 4th one.
Okay, the 4th one. Okay, yeah. I knew I had just seen, I seen it. It was one of the books that somebody is actually reading it for sensitivity issues, which is really cool. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, prior to Free, I just didn't know where I would even hire a sensitivity reader. I was like aware of their existence, but I didn't even know where you would go to hire somebody like that. So once I just put, I think it was just on like Blue Sky. Well, I just on all my socials, I just put like, can anybody tell me where you would hire a sensitivity reader? Because I don't know. And on the back of that, someone called Michelle Sweeney emailed me on my website info@zipcomic.co.uk. Yeah, she emailed me and asked about the sensitivity thing. So we talked a little bit about, you know, her experience and everything. Because the reason I wanted to hire a sensitivity reader primarily is the fact that, you know, I'm just one disabled person, but, you know, I try and pull from a bunch of different disabled people's experiences to, because we're not a monolith, you know, everybody's got their own like opinions and ways they like to identify and things like that. So
Yeah.
I thought, you know, a sensitivity reader could maybe, you know, kind of pull that in a little bit, maybe when I've misrepresented somebody else's experience or something. So that's what she was primarily hired to do. But then she's also been useful in other areas too, because they're, you know, I mean, sometimes you just you're so used to a trope that you maybe put in something that's harmful that you don't realize, or so for me sometimes as well, I'll just get into my like sci-fi brain where I'm like, oh, that's an interesting fact about like how this like thing in biology works, or how this you know thing works, and I'll just get into it, and I'll just kind of have a bunch of different separate ideas that I end up putting together, but then when you put them together they end up saying something really weird that you didn't mean to say, and I didn't catch, you know, sometimes I just don't catch these things because I'm just so in the weeds of like the process of it that like I don't catch things that seem like they should be really obvious. You know?
No, that's pretty, because like I was saying, you're the first person I had seen, you know, somebody give credit to them for doing that. I'm sure there's other like bigger comic books that do that, but you were the first one I've seen that where you gave credit to the person and basically gave them their things and their flowers for doing this for you. So have you heard from other readers from the disabled community, and like how has that response been from them to your book?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I basically put it on everything now. There's been a Amazon review that we've had. I believe the name of the guy was Apparition Rare, and I think I'll just read it out because it's a really great review. So, I mean, this is on Amazon. I'm literally just pulling it up and reading it verbatim now. So, Zip #1 was a Kickstarter I missed the chance to get in on, and I'm so excited to see it come to Comixology. The tale is a gritty British superhero comic, but it's really about disabilities. And having read it, I think it uses its metaphors well. The mutant metaphor over in Marvel often falls short in my eyes, but Zip genuinely resonates. I am autistic, and gosh, I could feel for Alison's alienation for society. The story is a bit dark. There's a suicide attempt, but it hit hard and is one of my favorite new comics. I am excited for issue 2 to arrive here soon, and I hope I can catch whenever the Kickstarter for issue 3 begins. So that's a 5-star review, and I just want to highlight that it's one of his favorite new comics. I assume that's really cool. I apologize if he is not, or they are not. So that's you know, I mean, there's a lot of new comics out there, and Zip is one of Apparition Writer's favorites. So
that's really cool that you're getting those types of responses to the book, and that's a feel good right there. That's one of those where you're having a shitty day and you can be like, you know what, I know what cheers me up. That's one of those reviews where you can go and read it and it immediately kind of just like a little bit of ray of sunshine on the day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now that that review's been given, I put one of my favorite comics 5 stars on like so much stuff now. You know, it's like the other thing I won't shut up about is the time that Gail Simone said that she loved the art in the comic.
The art is special, man. Like I know the amount of work that goes into doing just no color. Color can cover up imperfections in art, but this book has no color in it whatsoever, and I thought that was really cool. And still, I mean, San is like nailing it, dude. Like you have the artist for this book.
Yeah, well, I mean, I considered having it colored, but there were a few reasons why. We didn't. And for me personally, one is that it's kind of like a British thing, like a tradition. Because if you look at 2000 AD, that's for a long time black and white. But for me personally, I am a huge fan, and I've just talked about this on one of the podcasts. I'm a huge fan of the original Mirage Comics run of Kevin and Eastman's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And its original incarnation, that was black and white. For those who don't know, it's very different to the cartoons because it was a parody of Daredevil, and it was very violent. But it was, those guys basically just lived the dream because they just made a comic.
Yeah.
And
I
they
want
didn't
to
intend.
encourage everybody, if you have a chance, or go online or do what you got to do. Find the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle run with Kevin Eastman and Laird from Mirage. It is a totally different concept than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles we have today. Except for maybe the Last Ronin is a little bit more grittier and similar to what the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were. And I think that's really cool.
I think people assume that it was that TMNT was always like some kind of market researched, engineered to be a huge hit thing because of the juggernaut it became. But it really wasn't. It was just two guys it was just one of them trying to cheer up the other by, I can't remember which was which, but one of them tried to cheer up the other by just drawing a turtle with nunchucks. And
I think it was Laird who did it for Eastman. And then Eastman was kind of like, oh, I think we have something here. That's how that went down.
So they just made like a single comic that was supposed to be a one shot, but then it got like a huge response, and comic shops were asking them when they were going to do number 2, and they never even considered that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that because their main villain gets killed off in the first issue. And it just kind of snowballed, and then they became, maybe like in the late 80s, early 90s, the biggest thing ever.
And I think it wasn't until they really landed with IDW later is when it became the more kid-friendly thing, is when they pitched it. I think it was like in the mid-80s when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon, the animated series really hit.
Yeah.
So that's when they kind of toned everything down.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had to. Well, basically, they had the story is that they had the comics, and so they were going to get action figures made. But the action figures, they were basically told, like, well, if you're going to do action figures, you've got to have a cartoon because you've got to sell them somehow. So the cartoon was literally made to sell action figures, but it was a comic first, And
you can get the original Ninja Turtles in the black with the red eye band.
Mm-hmm.
You can find those. They make those. I can't remember which company does it, but I'm very much of the thought of, if I'm going to get them, I want them all at once. That way I don't have to be searching for them. And I've never been able to find all 4 at once, or like a multi-pack with all of them. But if I ever come across it, I'll definitely, that's one of my...
I mean, you could just get Michelangelo and just call it the Last Ronin. So.
No, I have a Last Ronin.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm kidding. Like, because if you just got Michelangelo and somebody asks you why they don't have you don't have the full set, you just be like, well, he's the Last Ronin.
That's true. And like I said, that I have the entire run of the Last Ronin. That's probably been one of my favorite comics of the original Last Ronin. The re-evolution was good, but that original Last Ronin just hit completely different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead and make your point, because we're going to jump into the actual Kickstarter after your statement.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing I like about Ninja Turtles that kind of influenced Zip as well is the fact that the Ninja Turtles aren't necessarily heroes. They're not really bad guys, but they are just kind of trying to survive in their own world. Mm-hmm. And in this world, superhumans, some of them don't do anything with their powers, and they just kind of live their lives. But like the ones who do take up heroing are doing it not because they've got some, altruistic vendetta against crime or something like that, but often just because they want a way they can kind of have a place for them to have a purpose. And so they've got like a whole community, and the reason that they've got like outlandish costumes and names and all that stuff is that's all a community thing, you know. Like, it's marginalized groups build up kind of like cultural things that you associate with them, and that's just kind of a way that they celebrate their own identity in a world that doesn't necessarily always celebrate them. So it's almost as if, you know, they're not really doing it to improve the world, although that's kind of like, they don't, you know, they wouldn't mind improving the world, but it's also just kind of for them as much as it is anybody else. And I kind of had a sort of, you know, the Ninja Turtles in mind when I was thinking about that, because the Ninja Turtles, they might save the world, but, you know, they're not going, you know, that's not their like life's mission or anything. It's just that they're kind of, you know, cast adrift in a world that doesn't care about them.
No, yeah, that you nailed that one. So let's jump into the actual Kickstarter for issue number 4. Mm-hmm. What can fans expect in issue 4 that they haven't seen previously from Zip or any of the other characters?
Well, this issue is our longest one so far, at 31 pages. So there's it's, you know, we've got several kind of subplots going on, or several stories going on at the same time. So there's going to be you know, some good pinstripe and dog's body stuff. You're also going to see somebody there working with one of the scientists from the classified research team. So we'll meet somebody new from the classified research team, and the classified research is the department that Pinstripe and Dog's Body work for. They're kind of a mysterious sort of, well, science team, but even the people who are working for them don't really know what they're doing. They're just told to go here and press this button on this machine and record this data, but they're not entirely certain what it is they're even really doing. So it's all quite mysterious. So, you know, kind of we'll learn a little bit more about them, and some more pieces of the puzzle will fall into place. Like I said before as well, Zip's going to meet more of the superhuman community. And the reason, I mean, one of the big reasons that I'd like that to happen is so that we can see kind of, you know, more different attitudes to superheroing, and who, you know, what the, you know, the etiquette of all that is, and what their culture is and stuff. But, you know, also just going to have more characters for Zip to play off. And, you know, the other thing I will say as well, and I don't want to give away too much, but the thing is, Zip needs to gain something in order to lose something. So you're going to start to see the start of something. I think this issue could be where you really start to see like a wider story coming in. I mean, I like to write each of our issues where you can kind of read them on their own and not have to read the rest. But if you have read the rest and you read them all, then you get like a bigger picture than you would have if you just read the one.
I will say the first 3 did feel very much standalone, but the first one built for the second one, built for the third one, and then in the fourth, you kind of left us with a little bit of I don't want to say a cliffhanger, but it was a cliffhanger compared to the other 3.
I mean,
if that makes sense.
There are little cliffhangers here and there, I'd say, but, you know, I mean, I just don't want it to be like you pick up, you know, if you've only been able to pick up issue 3 or whatever, you read it and it's like it's just mentioning a bunch of stuff that you need for context to understand the story, and you're just completely lost. You know, I mean, I think at a certain point, that might be necessary, but I'm going to try and avoid it. You know, I'm going to try and make them, you know, kind of a happy medium between them being stand enough and that you can enjoy them alone, but also, you know, you're kind of rewarded for reading them all too. I can't remember. So what we're seeing in issue 4. And obviously we've got the other time travel element. There will be kind of like this issue kind of makes a point about, you know, knife crime, and not necessarily even just knife crime, but just being kind of young and, you know, being kind of like a young, you know, maybe too boisterous, like young man, and getting yourself into kind of trouble over some masculine, you know, bullshit, macho bullshit. You know? So there's that too. So there's a lot of stories coming together in this one. And I mean, it's the start of getting some wider context for who Zip is and why she does things the way she does too.
No, I've enjoyed it, man. And so this is a question I ask almost everybody who comes on with a Kickstarter, and they've done multiples. So from your first Kickstarter that you did to where you're at now, like, what's some of your biggest lessons or takeaways for anybody who may be thinking about, like, hey, I want to do a Kickstarter for my next, or I want to do a comic book or whatever it may be, but I want to use Kickstarter as kind of like that launching point for this. Like, what are some of your biggest lessons learned or takeaways from doing that? Because, I mean, you're on your 4th book. So kind of like, what's your biggest takeaways on that and like your lessons learned?
I mean, there's so many, but I think you got to, one thing is you actually want to use Kickstarter before you make your own campaign for several reasons. Kickstarter is a community, and you have to engage with that community earnestly. Otherwise, people are going to notice. You can't be all take and no give. But the other reason that you want to be using Kickstarter as a backer is just you will learn what you like personally, and you'll form opinions about Kickstarter. And it will make it much easier for you to design rewards and design a story and design everything like that, because you'll have seen it, and you'll know what the experience is like on the backer side. So that's really important. Oh, the other thing I'd say, I think the first tip I'd tell anyone who's ever thinking like, oh, maybe I'll do a Kickstarter in the future. If you've ever thought, oh, maybe I'll do a Kickstarter in the future, cut the in the future out right now, because the thing is, you can create a campaign, you can create a project, and then just not launch it and just keep that indefinitely. So even if you don't have anything specific to create, just create your project, and you can see the interface and learn what it's like, and you'll see all of this different stuff that you have to do to get the Kickstarter ready, and you can just kind of get that ready in your own time, and you don't have to launch it. I mean, obviously, if you launch it, then you're under a time constraint, and that's a lot more stress. But you can just create a project, no stress, just to learn how to do it. So you might as well, even if you've got nothing specific to do, you might as well just create a project just to test it out and learn. And as long as you don't, get your, send it off for, validation or whatever, moderation or anything, you should be fine. The other thing is you got to do some math, unfortunately. So
Nobody wants to do math.
Yeah, I know. And in the immortal words of Jason Pargin, numbers are stupid and we shouldn't have them. Anyway.
3 words.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So basically, there is this concept called price anchoring, where people will not want to necessarily go for the cheapest option because they'll want to, they're like, oh, I've been spending some money, I want to, at least get myself something, but they'll also not want to get the most expensive option because they want to be a little bit frugal. So people tend to go for like a median average of your prices. And this is something you can work out mathematically, okay? So when you're doing a Kickstarter for your first time, what you need to do is you have to try and think, how many backers am I actually realistically going to get? Because when you get that number, you can do some maths and figure out what your average pledge needs to be for you to hit your goal, and then you can set your goal based on that. So say, for example, you are a creator with, a social media with, I don't know how many followers, and then you need to find a way that you can ballpark how many people you're going to get backing your thing. So you probably want to just write down a list of your friends and family that you can send a link to. You want to send you write down a list of like news sources you can send your link to press release with. On Down the Tubes website, there's a great article by John Freeman talking about how you can get a press release for your comics, so Google that. So you want a list of who am I going to send this to, and how likely do I think these people are going to back, right? And try and empirically figure out as much as you can how many backers you might get. Then think about, what does my goal need to be, okay? And then take that goal, divide it by the number of your projected backers, and you have the average pledge amount that you need to make that comic successful. Okay, so then you're unfortunately going to have to do yet more maths because take the rewards that you currently have made and then work out the median average of those. Okay, if the median average of those is lower than the average pledge amount that you need, that's not good. You need to rectify that. So your median rewards needs to be around about the average pledge or higher for your campaign to be successful. And there are, you can Google work out median average into Google, so you don't even necessarily have to do it yourself. You can just put the number array in there. But yeah, you got to do that. You got to do that maths, because I've seen people who are like, why isn't my campaign, doing well? And I looked at their campaign and they're asking for so much money. And I looked at the, amount of backers they have, and they've got like 12 hours left. And you divide the goal that they were asking for via the backers, and they've done, I've seen people who do multiple campaigns who consistently get the same number of backers. So it's not even like they don't know how many backers they're going to get. You can clearly see how many backers you're going to get. Yeah. Because you've done this multiple times, right? And you're setting a goal where your average pledge would have to be like $60 or something, but you're clearly getting an average pledge of like $20. Okay. So you either have to get more backers, or you have to
set realistic expectations of yourself.
Yeah, or you have to get into price anchoring and figure out how to get your average pledge higher. And that involves price anchoring, which, if you don't know what price anchoring is, Google it, because it's a whole thing. It's like a psychological tactic in sales. So yeah, understand price anchoring. That's important too. And do all the math I said, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up, because as a consumer who will back Kickstarters, when I go on their Kickstarter campaign, like one of the first things I do is I'm like, where am I getting the most bang for my buck? And I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to base my pledge on where I'm getting the most bang for my buck.
Yeah.
And there's some out there, they'll have let's say like a $60 tier where I'm getting basically that person's whole catalog of books. And if I'm getting 5 books plus their new stuff, I'm immediately going to want to support that tier, because I'm getting more bang for my buck of what that average book would cost.
I mean, that's definitely.
And maybe they're also throwing in like a pin, or maybe a really cool bookmark, or hey, not only do I get the physical book, but I'm also getting it digitally, as well as some additional digital artwork or something like that. I always want to get the most bang for my buck, because I'm not, I don't want to say I'm frugal, but I'm going to look to where I'm getting the most for my money that I've worked hard to earn.
Yeah, and there is definitely a type of backer who will behave that way. However, I should say as well, it's important to note that not every backer behaves the same way. And when you are setting your prices for price anchoring, you do have to think about, well, when somebody looks at this and actually thinks about whether they want to buy it or not, like it has to make sense. You can't just set your prices based on maths and not, there's a real person going to be looking at this and deciding whether to buy it. So it also has to make sense. You have to set prices that are worth it. But that just means maybe you're going to have to think of some more rewards, or maybe you're going to have to think about, you're going to have to think practically about it. I mean, there's a lot to think about. So if you're not getting the median average you need out of your rewards, you could lower the reward goal. That is true. The campaign goal. That is true. However, if you definitely need that campaign goal, then what you might need to do is think about, okay, well, what are the rewards that I can offer that are very, very cheap, or free? For example, like my whole thing with the giving the names in the back of the comic, that's free, but people like it. And you can use that to increase the value of a tier if you think about
that. That's a really cool one. You're the, well, I don't want to say you're the first. I've seen others do it too, but I've also seen others who do that charge astronomical prices to do that.
Well, that's not, I mean, it does cost, I mean, it doesn't really cost you anything to do it. The thing is, I was inspired by like a lot of game Kickstarter, because I'm a huge point-and-click adventure game fan, and it's kind of a lost art. And there was this one, Thimbleweed Park, by vet Ron Gilbert. They had a section where there's a library, and you have to go and find a specific library book to solve a puzzle. But the thing is, they've got like a bunch of books in this library, and they aren't just like generic, oh, I didn't find the right book, and they put the book back. All of those books have something written in them, and they're all stuff that the backers were like, basically the backers for their Kickstarter got to write all of these library books in the library. That's
pretty cool. Yeah, that's
and they're
really
they're all kind of like jokey in their own way. So even if you don't get the right book, you're reading something funny that a backer wrote.
That's really cool.
And so, I mean, I'd love to do something kind of like that, where you can actually even have the backer names in a script or something like that. But it's really tough.
I've seen some where like you send them your image and they will write you in the comic book.
But I mean, that's a really nice idea, but it's like a logistical nightmare there, because it means that you have to,
like, the prices I see people like charging for stuff like that. Like, oh, if you back it at this right here and you email me this, you're one of the first murder victims in this book, which I think is a cool concept, but they're charging an astronomical price for that.
I mean, you're going to have that be like, if you're going to charge a lot, you're going to have to maybe have the artist be somebody who's like a name or something.
Exactly. And the other big thing on Kickstarter is, I think you mentioned it briefly, but communicate.
Oh, yeah.
Communicate with your backers, because it absolutely drives me crazy when I back something that that we're passionate about, because we're working real money for this. But,
I mean, I have to say, sometimes it is difficult to even know what to say, because when you're in a live campaign, like, you're pretty much, I mean, it feels like you're working really long hours and everything, but it's just like, it's essentially just like, today I just, sent a link to a bunch of people pretty much, and then just kind of, cropped some images for social media and racked my brain about what new thing I could say about this book. So, like, I mean, it's sometimes updates are hard to come up with, because it's like, well, more of the same, but you kind of still have to do it anyway. You just have to think of something. I mean, Kickstarter has suggestions.
That to, like, because there's one in particular that I backed like months and months ago, and they kind of just been radio silent. The book is backed.
Yeah.
Like, they've reached their goal twice over, but I'm just like, are you going to release us an update and let us know what's going on?
Yeah.
Because I will withdraw my funds very quickly if I don't hear something back soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, and if you're not even sure what to say, like, Kickstarter does have articles that tell you, can give you some ideas about what kind of updates you can even write and how to write them. So there's that too. And I mean, it's just like, sometimes it could just be a case of like waiting for freelancers to be available. So sometimes the situation is like, I'm just still waiting, and it doesn't sound good, but like, it's just kind of the reality sometimes. But I mean, if when you're not updating people about that kind of thing, I mean, I can't say that I've always remembered what date I said for what thing totally, but people. I mean, it's
dates are numbers, and we don't need those.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, the Kickstarter as well has like a ton of like how-to articles and advice.
It really does. It's a very good website. I think very well put together, and they make it very user-friendly for anybody, not just people who are on there to buy, but also the people using it to sell their products. So,
and they link to those. They link to those how-tos when you're making your campaign as well. So that's another reason that you should just go and make a Kickstarter campaign, a Kickstarter pit story, because as you're doing it, they will just say, here's information, like they'll just link to it, like an information about how to do this thing that you're trying to do right now, or this thing that it's like Clippy or something from Word back in the 90s. So they'll just give you links to relevant articles that will help you to do what you're currently doing, and so you can just learn by doing, and it's great.
So we're talking about Kickstarter. Now it's your turn. What rewards or stretch goals are you most excited about for issue 4?
We're definitely doing essentially everything we did last time. I love these stickers, actually. Hang on. These are cool.
Stickers are one of my favorite things. Or pins.
Yeah, I was thinking about the thing about when it comes to rewards,
Pins are always fun.
When it comes to rewards, I typically try and stick to like flat stuff because flat stuff is easier to ship. And I've worked in jobs where the bulk of our time would be handling like delivery problems from customers. So I know how many things can go wrong with a delivery, and so I was like, well, we'll keep it as simple as we possibly can for delivery. It also means that, if you're worried about, me not fulfilling well, I mean, I've had so much experience dealing with delivery problems that I can kind of just, I've got a whole flowchart for how to approach a problem if something arises in the campaign. Behind me, there is a poster that's also available.
That's a really dope poster. I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite covers. That's Sans cover for issue 2 on a poster. We've got smartphone wallpapers. I mean, this is just all the extra stuff that you can get.
And those are always really cool. And there's nothing to them. You don't have to send them. It's just literally download it and stick it on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is I tend to find that people go for the comic above anything else.
I'm a comic guy. I like physical medium. And I've said this probably 100 times. I love the smell of a comic book.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's like the smell of an old book.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those unique smells that's all to itself. And it's like the feel of the page, the smell. Like, for me, that's one of the best things ever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I tend to find when we look at the stats after a campaign that people will usually go for the comics themselves, like much over anything else that we offer. So, I mean, I would love to offer like so much different merch stuff, but the thing is that realistically, I know that some of it's just not going to sell. But like, I mean, I've had people who expressed some interest in certain other things that I haven't offered in the past. I don't want to be explicit about that just now because I'm still, thinking about that. But like, you kind of want to offer something new for your new campaigns. So I'm thinking about how to do that. But yeah, we got the stickers and the poster. I mean, if anybody wants, I welcome people to comment and say like, I'd love this kind of thing because, it's good to know what people will actually buy. But yeah, I mean, you've got like the thing about it is for the campaign, you can get covers in print or in digital that you can't get. I mean, that's the official cover. You can get covers that you won't get in the e-reader version.
That cover is really cool. I like that one.
Oh yeah, this is
that black
Sans
and gray
one.
Scale. I will always love a good black and gray scale.
Yeah, well, that's Sans one for issue 1, and then we got this. I'll just skip the main covers. So this is the same drawing as on the poster. This is the Sans cover for issue 2, and then we also have Vanessa Cardinale's cover for issue 2.
Oh, that's so cool.
She's the same artist as the main cover of our first one.
Was that a purple and black?
Yeah, purple. So like a purple and black monochrome.
Oh, dude, that's money. That's clean.
And it's they've got the Clifton Suspension Bridge from Bristol in the background. Bristol is the city that Zip is based, and so am I. This is a Sans cover for issue 3. You can see Zip being, assimilated into the hive here. And then this is Matt Schofield's cover for issue 3, where you see
that's some awesome covers, man.
Yeah.
No, to me, those are big sellers. Like when you have a cover that just like screams at you like you want that cover because it's different and it's unique. You don't. I say you don't see a lot of black and gray covers, but shit, what's the name of the book? It just come out. News from the Fallout from Chris Condon.
Mm-hmm.
It has a black and gray cover that is just really cool. It's very basic, but it just says like you want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's a really good story too. Chris Condon, I think, is one of those really good writers out there who's finally getting his proper flowers. So what's your like kind of creative process like when it comes to doing your books? Like, how far out do you get ahead, or do you kind of just take it one issue at a time?
Well, I think it's pretty clear from what I've said already that I think ahead. You know, I mean, I've already begun writing issue 6, although issue 5 does need to be redrafted at some point. I mean, and I've got a rough story idea. I mean, essentially, I've got a rough story idea in my head for another, like, I mean, I don't even want to say how many issues because, like, you know, if I say how many issues,
we're not going to do that because I know, like, I had brought up Nick earlier with a Vitalirium, who has he's got his book deal and he's turning the book into a comic book, and he already knows how he plans to end book 7. So I just didn't know, like, have you thought that far ahead? Like, he knows exactly how the book will end at book 7. I was wondering, like, how like, are you that far ahead? Like, you know how you want to end this story eventually? Or are you just like living in the moment, you know, 1 or 2 issues ahead?
Well, I'm in two minds about
thought about it, you know, like, or do you just
I have
keep going?
The only definitive ending I've ever thought of for this story is like the most depressing thing ever. So I'm in two minds about using it because on the one hand, I'm just an edgy boy, and sometimes I just like a dark, depressing ending. But on the other hand, I'm like, I really like these characters, and I kind of don't want to do that to them.
They're your characters; it's your prerogative, you know.
Yeah, I know, but like, I don't want to do. I mean, like,
but I know how you feel. Sometimes a good, like, just depressive ending like that is kind of like you can kind of feel it going there, but you don't like the vibe of the book's like it's not going to go there. The book has kind of been like a little bit more of this, but then when you get that ending and it's just like, well, shit, I didn't see that coming. That's kind of like depressive almost, and then you're like, but damn, it was good the way they did it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if this is necessarily a good idea. Maybe it's just something I thought of, and it's the most depressing thing ever. Just because I was just like, oh, I'm just edgy, and I just want to. Yeah, I mean, but that doesn't, you know,
it could sell, you know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. But like, I kind of envision this as an ongoing series that doesn't really have a set end, but like that might be a little bit too wishful thinking, really, when you think about it from like a practical, like, business perspective. But I mean, like, I know this what's coming up in the story. There is a grander story that we're building to. There's kind of a grand, like, arc.
Well, issue 4 is you kind of start to get that feel that you're building it to something big in that, because, you know, Allison or Zip is getting her confidence. She's starting to find herself a little bit, and you can kind of tell that's building into something more. Yeah. So.
And I mean, I could see there being multiple story arcs for this, but there's a kind of a point where, I mean, I can see for the foreseeable future, I can kind of tell you, oh yeah, this story would roughly work in X amount of issues.
Yeah.
However, after that, there is more story that I can think of, but I couldn't tell you how many issues that would last for, and I wouldn't even necessarily be able to tell you the whole story structure. Like, I could sit down and tell you the whole story structure for what we're doing right now, but after that arc, I have ideas for future arcs, but like, how long could they be? I mean, I don't really know.
So how's your relationship with Sand when it comes to, like, you wrote your story, you're passing it off to Sand for art. Like, how does that work for y'all? Like, are y'all always in contact with each other, or is he like, does he do a page and send it to you? How's your relationship with Sam when it comes to creating the artwork of Zip?
Yeah, Sam pencils in a page, and then he sends that over to us, and we comment and take a look, and it's almost never anything that really needs changing, especially not majorly.
That's the sign of a good artist.
Yeah. There was one funny little thing where in issue 3, Sam confused Pinstripe and Dog's Body. So there's an original draft where there you actually see Dog's Body in the place of Pinstripe and vice versa, which is kind of funny. But we corrected that. But most of the time, not really, a whole big deal for Sam's stuff. And then he'll just go and send us a picture of the inks when he's just because he works so fast, so he wouldn't have time to scan it all in while he's just. I think he goes to a print shop or something to scan, but he takes photos of just the pages of he's drawn and sends it to us. So
I think 2 weeks ago I had Francisco Nilo on, who is the artist for Vitellarium, which is one of those cool things where I got to interview the writer and the artist of it. And that's what he does as well, is he does a page and he'll take a picture of it and send it to Nick to give the thumbs up. And then they send it off to their colorist.
Yeah.
So it's really cool when I'm interviewing and talking to people about their work, the kind of relationships they have with their artists and how it just comes like this fluid relationship where the artist already knows kind of what you're looking for and what you want. And then you get to a certain point where you're almost like the hive mind and you're kind of just like on the same page.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that y'all are at that point now in this where he's just kind of like, I know what you're looking for. I got you. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a little bit funny to have that to be described as a hive mind because the hive. But
I had to circle back to it, man. I had to circle back.
Yeah, totally. Well, I was going to say because we were talking about that earlier, and you said you might.
Yeah, we said we were going to circle back. Let's circle back to it right now before we get to one of my favorite parts of my interviews.
Okay.
So, is the hive still alive? That's my biggest thing, because they kind of are going with like it's dead, but can it really die?
You can't kill. I mean, no, the hive is still alive. I mean, the hive is software, so it replicates itself. It can replicate itself. So even if we were like, we've just destroyed all of the servers that the hive are on and they're gone forever. Well, as long as a single computer remains in the world, that's powerful enough to contain the hive, it's always possible that they replicated themselves.
So we're going to see the hive come back at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like the corporation who owns the hive aren't just going to let the hive go, because the corporation that created them, they might not have released the hive in its current state, but that's only because they didn't want the PR disaster it was going to create. They want the money. They really want that money. So they're going to be, they've got that squirreled away somewhere. And, I mean, there's a bunch of engineers at that corporation who are telling them that this thing is too dangerous. You can't, because, but then, the big wigs are just like, well, yeah, but we want the money though.
Yeah, exactly.
So as long as there's profit in it, the hive is going to continue to exist.
I thought that was a really, really dope one. And from the story, you kind of pick up like this thing can't just die. It's going to have to take something big to kind of like really end it. So I think it's cool that you're kind of going to circle back to that, and you have that ability to circle back to it whenever you feel like.
Yeah.
So before we start doing our close up and wrap up here, let's do a quick lightning round of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, favorite British comic of all time?
Sonic the Comic, no question.
I kind of knew that was going to be the answer because you did mention it in issue 1.
Oh yeah, on the in issue 1, there's a making of Zip like little article at the end for anybody who doesn't know that. So that's something else you can get when you back the thing. But there were in the UK there was an entirely different comic about Sonic the Hedgehog, but the creators just kind of went wild with it because there wasn't so much oversight back then. So
That's
it
really
was
cool.
still a comic that took inspiration from the games and had,
So, and that was going to be my question: is it like Sonic the Hedgehog? Because it just says Sonic the comic, and I'm like, well, I wonder if that's the same thing or if it's something
Yes, it is.
different. Okay,
It's Sonic the
that's
Hedgehog,
really cool. That's really cool.
It's very different to the American comics, although there are characters from the American comics where you kind of look at them and you go, oh, wonder where you got the idea from that from.
What's funny is Mad Cave just released Vanishing Point. Issue 2 of Vanishing Point is a knockoff of the Jetsons.
Okay.
So it's really cool. Like there's like this evil Jetsons family on the cover of issue 2. Beautiful cover. But I thought that was like really cool that there's a story because it's an anthology book.
Mm-hmm.
But that one, the main story is about a disheveled like Jetsons.
Yeah.
Maybe not so polished, you might say. So
that's the first time that anybody's ever referred to Hanna-Barbera as polished, I think. Although I do love them anyway.
As much as it can be.
Yeah.
All right. Most underrated disabled character in fiction, and it doesn't have to be comic book.
Oh, well, that's a good question. I feel like I mean, just the first thing that comes to my mind was people may not even really remember that this was a thing, but there was almost like a Star Trek: The Next Generation style thing, but with Ghostbusters. So in the 90s, there was a show called The Extreme Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the new generation of Ghostbusters. And in that, they had like this kind of daredevil character who was always the first to rush into a situation because he just liked to kind of prove how brave he was and stuff. And he was in a wheelchair. And I went back and watched an episode of that show in my adulthood, and I kind of forgot he was even in a wheelchair because they didn't make his character about that. So I know, for a long time, I mean, for a lot of, they still do in a lot of ways, kind of just make disabled characters all about, their disability and kind of make that their entire personality. And, like shows have kind of like a very irritating way of just like kind of taking pity on disabled characters. But the Extreme Ghostbusters just let this guy be part of the action, and he just happened to be in a wheelchair. And I remember
that. That was a really fun cartoon. It's very underrated.
Yeah,
I don't think it got the proper love that the original Ghostbusters cartoon did.
I mean, it'd be hard to live up to the iconic original Ghostbusters, but yeah, no, I really like that show.
For me, I would have to go. Can't remember the name of the show, but it's about an FBI agent. Like they're all FBI agents or something like that. But one of the main guys, he's a doctor, but he's autistic. He's very like he gives the autistic vibe. But he's got multiple doctorates, and he's like very.
Well, so is he explicitly autistic, or is he just kind of just autistic coded?
He doesn't. It's never actually said, I think.
Okay.
But you kind of just like it's not spoken of, but know.
Okay.
And I can't remember his name, or the exact name of the show, but I always thought that was really cool that he's part of this elite team that solves like crime and like weird murder cases and stuff like that. And but it's really cool that. Yes, it's never mentioned, but And The Good Doctor as well was like that as well. I thought that was a really good one. I think that's the name of the show about the doctor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I haven't seen these TV shows.
I know y'all get very, like, y'all's programming, y'all's Doctor Who, I think, is better than ours. Y'all's Office is better than ours.
That's a bit controversial with The Office, isn't it?
It very much is, but I still prefer the UK version of The Office.
Yeah.
And then y'all had a TV series. I think it was similar to like the Inhumans or something like that, about a group of teens that ended up with superpowers.
You may have been thinking of Misfits.
Misfits, yes.
Yeah.
top tier television, in my opinion. I thoroughly enjoyed that show and felt it never got the proper love it deserved.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shame when I forgot the character's name, but he was like almost the Wolverine character, where he was immortal, like he was, he regenerative powers. The guy with the curly hair who was, that guy left. He was kind of like the breakout character of that show, but then he left, and after that, it was a little bit difficult for them to recapture the magic of that.
I think he took a different show though, or he actually cast in a movie as the reason why he actually had left. I think, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's obviously they can't help it, but yeah, it's just.
I just felt it was one of those severely slept-on shows that deserved more attention than what it got. So, What's up, Kelvin? Welcome to the show. Mike here is from the UK. That's why we had an early start today. I don't like to keep these guys up too long. So, from the UK.
Yeah, specifically, I'm from Bristol, where every day is talked like a pirate day. So things you might, dude. Well, like so the Bristol accent sounds a bit like "Here, cheers, Dave." Oh, like kind of thing. It basically the reason that pirate accents are even pirate accents is because pirates were from everywhere because they were sailors, obviously. But Disney made a Treasure Island movie decades and decades and decades ago, and the actor who played Long John Silver took on a Bristolian accent for the role, which would make sense because that would have been where Long John would have been from in the book, because the guy who wrote Treasure Island did so from a pub that stands to this day in Bristol called the Long Dogger Trow. He based that on the Bristolian accent, and everybody just copied that, and that ended up becoming the pirate accent. So, people say, "Oh, Bristolians sound like pirates." Nah, man, pirates sound like Bristolians. But yeah, I mean, so that's another thing you might know Bristol from is Treasure Island. Is also
I love that show. That was underrated.
Treasure Island.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's also a Robert Louis Stevenson book from like the 18th century or something.
I'm pretty sure we have it on a shelf somewhere in my daughter's library.
Well, and the real life pirate Edward Teach, better name was Blackbeard, was from here. Yeah, I mean things you might know Bristol also are from like Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit.
New movie coming out soon.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of out of the loop since my dad stopped working for Hardman's. So, and I mean, Banksy, Massive Attack, all kinds of stuff.
Okay. All right. Next one from our lightning round here. If any publisher could pick up Zip, who would you want it to be?
Markosia.
Good answer.
What am I going to do?
Good answer.
Imagine if I said anything besides that.
Like when I did the questions, I completely forgot Markosia was there. So that's my bad, Markosia. That's on me. That's not on him. I swear, that's on me.
Imagine if I said, I'd get such an angry email. I don't know if anybody saw it. It's like, what did you say this for?
So, are you a music guy? Do you listen to music while you write? And if you do, what's on your playlist?
Well, that depends on what I'm writing. I tend to.
You nailed it. Banksy, birthplace of Banksy. Yep.
Replace the Banksy. Birthplace, yeah, and a lot of Banksy artwork is here as well because he does a lot of his graffiti art here. So, music, yeah. So that depends on what I'm writing because I kind of tend to make playlists of like the soundtrack of whatever it is I'm writing because I'm a screenwriter as well. So I do like to think about, what would this. I even like to imagine what the original score of it would be like. I mean, Zip has an original score because I hired a composer to make one for our first Kickstarter video.
That's really cool. That's really
cool. But I like to think about what popular music would be in like a Zip movie or whatever as well, and I listen to that while I'm writing. So, for example, the theme for Pinstripe and Dog's Body is the Deltron instrumental version of Virus. I like to think about maybe Zip being associated with like Superman by Goldfinger. or there's a lot of music that I listen to, and it's all kind of appropriate. And I'll even have like, okay, well, this is just the music that plays in this moment of the story, and this is the music that is associated with this place or this character. So it's all kind of fits in with the tone of it. But because the setting is in Bristol, and Bristol's kind of like an industrial place, I like to listen to kind of like sort of, when I was talking about like how should we make the sci-fi look, I was like, maybe we should go for a little bit of steampunk sci-fi, because it's kind of like all got a lot of like Georgian architecture and stuff, which Georgian is technically earlier than Victorian times, but it's close enough. So I'd like to listen to a lot of like kind of electronic music for the sci-fi stuff, and maybe just like energetic, fast-paced music for like Zip herself. It all fits into whatever the story is.
Okay, that's a perfectly acceptable answer. Last one up from our lightning round: if Zip became a TV series, who plays Allison, aka Zip?
That's tricky. It'd have to be a British person, and they'd have to be in their early 20s. So I'd have to pick someone who was that. I mean, I don't.
It's the hard question,
I'm just sort of kind of tapped out of broadcast TV a little bit.
Okay.
Because
that's acceptable, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I almost kind of think that you might want to do an unknown person in a way, just to. I mean, it'd be cool to give somebody their first. I mean,
I can appreciate that. That's. I love when unknown breaks out, and all of a sudden you're like, "Damn, where'd they find this person?" I could see that.
If we were going with animation, we've already had somebody act as if, actually, because again, I hired a voice actor for some of the promotional videos for our Kickstarters.
Okay, cool.
By the name of Brittany Galash. So she has been the official voice of Zip a few times.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Shout out to her.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, let's start wrapping this up. So where can people listening or watching from home find you and your work online?
So all of our socials are Zip Comic UK. So you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, and TikTok. And our website is zipcomic.co.uk. So you can sign yourself up for our newsletter there. And also, of course, Kickstarter. So if you want to find our current Kickstarter, you just basically want to just type Zip4, and you will find the Kickstarter pretty easily from there. So please give us a follow, because I'm keeping an eye on that follower account. And yeah, I mean, that would be how you find us.
And when this video goes live on all the podcasting platforms, and when I re-release it on YouTube, I'll have all those links down in the description as well.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I get all those in there for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we discussed it a little bit earlier. Issue 4 will go live on Kickstarter. We're thinking August, September timeframe. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't keep it in pre-launch forever. I am keeping an eye on those follower accounts, but I'm not just going to keep it in pre-launch forever. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the follower account will go up. It always does.
Yeah, it absolutely. As a matter of fact, when we're done, I'm going to do the same thing, because I don't think I've done it yet either, and that's shame on me.
That's all right. Well, it's good to know that it could have been higher than Sometimes that's little simple things. You might get, as a creative, you might get disheartened to learn to look at your numbers or something. But then sometimes it's not even. Sometimes you're just like, I just forgot, and it's just like, oh, okay.
When I get ready to do the release, I'll do the release with the big and bold and Zip logo, and then I include all the links and stuff when I go live with with the podcast and whatever. I make sure I include all that stuff. So we're gonna get you there. I'm gonna do my part to get you there.
Thank you.
So finish this sentence and we'll close it out. Zip is the kind of comic that.
It's just kind of comic that. I mean, I think Zip is the kind of comic that tells a very personal story to me, but I hope resonates with a lot of people like me and possibly unlike me too. It's I want it to kind of appeal to people who would like to see a story about disability, but also just like the wider idea of discrimination and marginalized groups. It kind of takes a look at how discrimination is affected by apathy and ignorance as opposed to the more traditional motivator of fear and hate. But it's also got action and explosions. You can't really.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, Mike, I want to take a second and say thank you for coming on USDN and asking to come on. I that means the world to me that you've seen an interview that I did with Bruno. You're actually the second person who's seen my interview with Bruno and was like, hey, can I come on and, promote my new Kickstarter? And I love that kind of stuff. That means I'm doing my job. Okay. I'm going to get to great someday, but I'm okay with okay. But with that, Mike, I want to welcome you now as an official member of the Council of Nerds here at the United States Department of Nerds. And I want to say, thanks for bringing Zip to life. It is one of those unique comics, and I look for unique comics when I read comic books. So if you're listening, you can check out issues 1 through 3 right now on Amazon or Drive-Thru Comics. They are terrific reads. You will enjoy them greatly. And keep your eyes peeled on Kickstarter for issue 4 that is currently in pre-launch and launching soon. And I'll make sure all the links are in the show notes. But with that, Mike, you and Zip are now USDN approved.
Thank you.
It's a trap!